Welcome to Insights with Kim Izzarelli. Today I have Jane Lindau joining us today. She is the Director of Senior Citizens Housing at the Westchester Residential Opportunities Incorporated. Thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you, Kim.
Great. Westchester Residential Opportunities is a HUD-certified housing not-for-profit in White Plains, and the senior housing department that Jane runs at Westchester Residential Opportunities helps Westchester residents age 60 or older with housing issues such as foreclosure counseling and homeless prevention. So, Jane, tell me about some of the programming that you're running for seniors there.
Well, thanks for having us on. We always like to get the word out about WRO because we are a not-for-profit and we don't charge any fees to anyone. And housing is such a huge issue in Westchester, especially for low to moderate income people, because it's such an expensive place to live.
Sure.
So one of the main things we do is help seniors find affordable housing. There's a lot of subsidized housing for seniors in Westchester. We also help senior homeowners with many things, including tax foreclosure counseling. Right now, we're finding that a lot of seniors are having a hard time paying their property taxes. And we're the only agency in Westchester that does tax foreclosure counseling. So we often find that seniors are not getting all the property tax exemptions they're eligible for. Say half of the seniors I talk to are not getting Senior Star or the Veterans Exemption or something like that. We also help people who are behind in their mortgages with foreclosure counseling. We also help them get any benefits they're eligible for but aren't getting, such as food stamps, which is now called SNAP. And people who are facing homelessness or utility shutoffs, we sometimes can make small grants to help them pay the rent for a month or something like that. So those are just a few of the things that WRO does.
Wow. So this is a situation where we have, you know, a lot of elderly or older residents in Westchester County. Their homes may be paid for years ago. So the mortgage is paid for.
Right.
But the property taxes, they might have fallen behind on.
What happens a lot of the time is that one of the spouse dies, there's a divorce or some major change in the life. And let's say one of the spouses dies. People don't realize that you'll suddenly lose part of your Social Security income when that happens. And that's a devastating thing for many seniors who are only living on Social Security. So all of a sudden, maybe they had $3,000 a month of income and it's gone down to $2,000 a month. And that's very difficult to pay Westchester level property taxes with that kind of income. So, and often they will have a house that's worth, say, $300,000, and they can lose that house by not paying, say, a $20,000 tax lien. I mean, you can lose the entire equity in your house. And it's a terrible situation. So we really try to get the word out that if they are in this situation, there's a lot of things we can do to help. We can help them see if maybe they can get a payment plan with the town. We can see if they can borrow against a 401k or a life insurance policy. Or sometimes they'll even seniors sometimes will qualify for small mortgages, or they can get a reverse mortgage.
Yeah, tell me about a reverse mortgage. How does that work exactly?
Well, a reverse mortgage is a mortgage that's like a home equity line of credit, where you can access the equity in your home to live on. And the difference between it and a typical home equity line of credit is that you don't have to have any minimum income or any minimum credit score to get a reverse mortgage. As a matter of fact, sometimes we use them for people who are in foreclosure on their homes. They haven't paid their bank for a long time, so their credit rating is very low. And they can actually refinance their mortgage with a reverse mortgage. And what's good about a reverse mortgage is that going forward, you don't need to make any payments. Instead, the interest is added on to the debt each month. And so over time, you're using up the equity in your home with a reverse mortgage. And so reverse mortgages sometimes get a bad rap in the press and things because people say they're very expensive, and there are significant closing costs on a reverse mortgage. But the HUD came out with a new type of reverse mortgage in 2010 that has much lower closing costs. But in order for you to get a reverse mortgage, you need to do HUD counseling with a HUD certified counselor. And I'm one of those counselors. And what we tell you in the counseling is we don't care if you get the reverse mortgage or not. We just want you to be educated because it is a complex financial product. It's not for everyone. But for people facing tax foreclosure or who want to stay in their home and they may have a lot of net worth. They may have $300,000 worth of net worth, but it's all locked up in their home,
Right.
and they're living poverty level. Sometimes people want to stay in their homes, and that's the only way they can do it, by accessing that net worth. So that's the way to do it, through a reverse mortgage.
That really, if a person is well enough to remain in that home, that really is a good place for them to be if they can use some of these tools,
Right.
Financial tools, to stay in their home.
Right.
This is a good scenario for them.
The government, the reason the government guarantees this program, the reverse mortgage program, is because they want people to stay in their homes and not go into nursing homes. Because the government ends up, once you use up your money, Medicaid pays for your stay in a nursing home. So the government would obviously prefer that you stay in your home and they don't have to pay for nursing homes. And most seniors would prefer to stay in their homes. I mean, I've never met anybody who wants to go to a nursing home. So it's good for the homeowners, and the government is not doing it out of the goodness of their heart. They're doing it for financial reasons. But that's how the program came into play, and it's still going strong, you know, many years after it started. But again, it's not for everyone. A lot of people are concerned about leaving money to their children, so they don't want to use up the equity in their home, for example. That's a major concern we see. And also, some people come in and we go through the whole analysis and we figure out, look, you only have this much equity in your home. It's only going to allow you to stay there 3 more years at your current rate of spending. So is it worth it to have $10,000 in closing costs when it's only going to gain you a few more years? So what we do in that type of situation is we always do budgeting and financial analysis with the client, and we also, if it turns out that the reverse mortgage is not a realistic way for them to proceed, we can help them get on waiting lists for senior citizen subsidized housing, for example, or transition them into other types of housing.
Good.
Yeah.
And where are you located, Jane? If someone wanted to come out and meet with you, how would they do that?
We are very centrally located at 470 Mamaroneck Avenue in White Plains. And let me say my phone number here for people. It's 914-428-4507. My direct extension is 313. But yes, anybody, just call us. You can come in for an appointment. We can talk to you over the phone. And whenever we talk to people, we end up finding other things we can help them with. Almost always, it seems to me that, you know, we always ask people what their income is. There's senior citizens, what their income is. And immediately we know if your income as a single senior is less than $1,805 a month, you're eligible for food stamps. At that income level, you're also eligible for heating assistance through the LIHEAP program. So we're familiar with all other types of benefits, veterans benefits. For example, one of the most underutilized benefits for seniors is the aid and attendance benefit. And what that is, it's for veterans and their spouses or their widows who have served. These veterans, if they served during wartime, you can get up to around $1,600 a month to pay for home care if you're a veteran or a spouse of a veteran. So I have a lot of low-income veterans who come in who are at the point of not being able to afford to stay at home anymore, and they have no idea that this benefit exists. And it actually can also be paid directly to an assisted living place if you move into assisted living, and it will cover part of your assisted living expenses.
Good to know.
So we love for any seniors who, you know, are having a hard time and having ends meet, call us and we'll try and figure out ways to make your life more comfortable financially.
Good.
Yeah.
I want to move on to some of the other program that you have at Westchester Residential Opportunities, but I just want to go back and hear one more point that you made again. You said that a senior could lose their home on a lien as low as $20,000. So
let me tell you, for example, how that happens. I mean, people are shocked when they learn this, but what happens is the towns in Westchester who don't get their taxes paid, they have to treat all their residents the same. And so every year, most of them go through something called an in rem foreclosure, where they have to foreclose on properties where the taxes have not been paid. And each year, like right now, we're working very closely with the town of Ossining, and they've actually sent a letter out to all of their people, all of their residents who are behind in their taxes, attached to a letter from me saying, please call me, I want to help you. And we want other towns to do this too. We've done it with about 5 or 6 towns and cities in Westchester, and it's been very successful. But what happens is, if you don't pay your taxes, the town has to, after about 3 years, the town does have to take possession of your house And it can be for as little as $10,000, $20,000 worth of taxes. And they end up, it's not like they sell the house and they take the $20,000 and you get everything left. They take everything. They do not have to give you anything back. So we usually the properties that go to foreclosure are usually abandoned properties, empty lots. But every year towns have a few people who are living in their homes who are in this type of situation. And at times we can get involved and tell the person, look, the only way to save your home is to save the equity in your home is to sell it. And sometimes certain towns, if we get involved and write a letter to the town board and produce a signed listing agreement, sometimes they will give the homeowner a year or so to sell the house, and that way they at least preserve their equity if the house isn't sold. But it's urgent that anybody who is behind in their taxes get in touch with us to help work on this situation.
Okay, good. Let's just move on to fair housing.
Okay.
And the work that you're doing there.
Okay.
Maybe it would be helpful for the audience if you explain what fair housing is.
Okay. It's against the law for people to discriminate against you in housing. And in Westchester, we have certain rules about fair housing that differ from New York City. And some of the things that they can't discriminate against you is for race, sexual orientation, religion, disability, age,
military status,
and you're not allowed to be discriminated against for those reasons. So what we do is we actually run a testing program where we send out testers to go to rent an apartment. And we'll send out, say, a white tester, and then we'll send out to rent this apartment, and they'll say, we're interested in renting this apartment, and they take notes and do a report for us. And then we'll send out some, let's say, an African-American tester.
Okay.
And we will compare how those people were treated. And the same goes for buying a house. And the same goes for getting a mortgage, because there's also fair lending. And we find, we get large grants, and these are very extensive testing programs we do all over the county and actually into other counties in the Hudson Valley. And based on our results, we find that there still is discrimination in housing going on. I mean, since we started this program, the rate of discrimination has gone way down, because one of the things we also do is we educate realtors about what is legal and what is not legal to do. So anyway, we find that the fact that realtors know that there is testing going on helps them be more fair to potential renters or homeowners. So that's what the Fair Housing Department is about. And also, if you have a complaint, if you think you're being discriminated against, or you're not being treated fairly. For example, I had a gentleman call me who has a disability, and his co-op building is going through they have to renovate their elevator, and there's going to be no elevator service for 6 weeks, and he's a partial amputee, and he lives on the 6th floor. So I referred that to our Fair Housing Department, because under the law, that landlord is supposed to reasonably accommodate this gentleman who has a disability. I don't know how they're going to do it, but we will help enforce that type of treatment, that you get treated fairly.
So if they can't put in a lift, they'll have to maybe find alternative place for him to live
to a different floor for a time being or something like that. Yes.
Okay, understood.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the programming for first-time homeowners. I think this is just phenomenal work that you're doing.
Especially in these times where there's a lot of foreclosures and abandoned properties, there are really great places that first-time home buyers can buy in Westchester County. And what we do is we have this program. It takes about a year to go through the program, but what they do is they address your credit, your savings, they educate you through classes, and they help you save money for your down payment. They help you get grants to help with down payment, and those grants can be significant, several $1,000s towards your down payment. Wow. And we also have certain banks we work with who will help first-time home buyers get mortgages. Many first-time home buyers don't have a credit history. They haven't had a credit card, or maybe their credit history is not so good. They've defaulted on a credit card. So that's why the program takes a year to work through this process. But you end up getting you end up being able to buy a home, which you would not have been able to before. You get help with the down payment. You get a low interest mortgage. And it's really a fantastic program. And we do classes in the evenings for people to come to, so it's easy for you to do it after work. Every type of first-time home buyer, from people right out of college to elderly people who have never owned a home before. And what's great about the first-time home buyer program is that the skills that you learn in this about credit and other things help you for the rest of your life.
Sure.
So we really are trying, especially in Westchester where it's so expensive to live. It's a great program.
There really is so much to know. There's so many questions to ask.
Right.
Escrow, a lot of things that you don't have to deal with when you're renting.
Right.
That you suddenly now have to, just maintaining the home itself.
Right.
Making sure that things are kept up to code, or when you're buying a home, what you want to look for.
Right.
I can see that it would take a year to learn all of these things.
And also there's realtors who specialize with first-time home buyers. One thing I want to mention is you can be a first-time home buyer under this program, even if you owned a home before. It's kind of confusing. As long as you have not owned a home in the past 3 years, you can qualify for our first-time home buyer program. And it's very popular right now because there's so much opportunity with housing prices having fallen as they have over the past few years. So we really encourage, if you have any interest in the first-time home buyer program, please call us at 914-428-4507.
I was amazed by some of the grants and cost assistance programs. The First Home Club Savers Program, the American Dream Down Payment Initiative, Homeowner Voucher Choice Program.
Yes, actually, we help people who are on the Section 8 program right now for housing. They can get some assistance from Section 8 to go become a homeowner. Another thing we do that's huge, one of our biggest departments, is our mortgage foreclosure department. So people who are having problems with their mortgages, this is something that can help you very much financially. Let's say you've missed 1 or 2 mortgage payments, or even up to a year, and you're in danger of losing your home to bank foreclosure, we will help you with our try and get a modification from a bank, which means I had a gentleman this morning who called me, and he had his interest rate is 6.5% on his mortgage, and he's having a really hard time keeping up with the payments because his wife was out of work for a while and they fell behind, and they just haven't been able to get back current. So if that happens, we can help you go to the bank and get your mortgage restructured, and your rates can get down as low as, to like 3%. And that's a huge savings in your mortgage payments each month. So the only requirements, and a lot of these people with who are behind on the mortgage obviously have bad credit ratings and so your credit rating does not come into it at all. The banks want to help you get back current on your mortgage, and under the Making Home Affordable program of the government, they are required to at least review you for a modification. There's no guarantee that you'll get a modification, but you have to prove that you can pay the mortgage going forward at a lower rate. So that sometimes your mortgage payment can get lowered by $1,000 or more a month.
Wow.
So
it's a win-win. It's a win for the bank, and it's a win for the person gets to stay in their home.
And it's a win for Westchester because we have had such high foreclosure rates, and they're starting to come down now a little bit.
Okay. What's the Smart Move loan?
The Smart Move loan is one of the things under our first-time home buyer programs. I'm not, since I don't run that program, I'm not that familiar with it.
And a workforce loan is another one that's listed here.
Yeah.
So, Jane was recognized by the New York State Legislature, the Senate, in 2011. That's quite an accomplishment there.
Thank
recognized for her work and many things that she's done. You're also on the Newcastle Historical Society and a PTA volunteer.
Yes.
Quite a volunteer. And also... I'm
also involved in the affordable housing. That's another thing we do at Westchester Residential Opportunities is we try to encourage the building of affordable housing throughout Westchester. Again, because it's such a great place to live, Westchester, and we really want people to be able to especially people who are working here. You hear a lot of complaints about how firemen, policemen, teachers cannot afford to live in the communities. We have many teachers here in Westchester who are commuting from an hour and a half away because they can't afford anything here. So right now there's a big push to build affordable housing, especially rental housing in Westchester. So WRO tries to promote that. Under the housing settlement, many communities are required to try to build affordable housing. So I'm also very involved in that. In Newcastle, I chair the Newcastle Task Force for Fair and Affordable Housing. So we're trying to help in Newcastle, but throughout Westchester, to get affordable housing built. And some of these affordable housing can be for purchase or for rent. Now, one of the things that made me interested in this is I see, as the Director of Senior Housing, I have so many seniors who are just living on Social Security. And even though there's a huge amount of affordable housing for seniors in Westchester already, there's never enough. As a matter of fact, for HUD-subsidized rental housing in Westchester, the waiting list for seniors is currently 3 to 5 years long. And so a lot of times people will come to me and it will be a senior, they only make $1,100 a month. So they obviously can't afford to pay $1,000 or more for a rental apartment in Westchester, but they're under the HUD program. There are apartments for rent for 30% of your income. So that person would only pay $330 a month for a rental apartment. So that's the way that seniors can afford to stay in Westchester. And so we help them get into those waiting lists for those places. But in the meantime, sometimes they don't realize that they need this type of apartment until a major change has happened. For example, they've sold their house, they've lost their house to foreclosure, a spouse has passed away, and they thought that they were going to be getting their spouse's pension, and then they realized the pension was not assumable by the spouse. I mean, there's a lot of misunderstanding about pensions out there, as you probably know, Kim. And so we try to help people find that affordable housing, and also we try to encourage building of more affordable housing, especially for seniors, because seniors enrich the community so much by staying here. You know, one of the largest segments of volunteers we have is seniors, and seniors also are great for communities because they're taxpayers. They don't have children in school anymore.
Absolutely.
And so we really, and you know, Westchester County has been recognized as one of the best places for seniors to live in the country under our Livable Communities Consortium through the county, which I'm a member of. We work very closely together under under May Carpenter, the Director of Senior Programs and Services in Westchester, to work together with many other not-for-profits and agencies in Westchester to help seniors try to afford to stay here.
Yeah, I mean, the Livable Communities model it's a great model, and we really want to encourage people to be able to age in place.
Right.
And that means making our communities more accessible, more walking, fresh grocer, things that are nearby,
transportation for seniors,
and places for people to interact.
Right.
You know, you don't want to be alienated or stuck someplace where you don't have contact with the community.
I have to say, we go to the senior center in Mount Vernon once a week to visit with the people there to address their housing needs. But these senior centers are so vibrant, and they're also nutrition sites. Many, you know, we have people in their 90s who get out, go to the senior centers, spend the whole morning there every day socializing with their friends, getting a nutritious meal. They get transportation back and forth from there. I mean, that is just a lifeline to longevity. And we really encourage people to use the senior sites, and we try to support them however we can.
Yeah, and it was a great point also that you raised earlier about the need for the economic diversity.
Right.
And employers look for that as well. Employers that are coming to establish themselves here in Westchester, they need to have, you know, a spectrum of low wage to higher wage employees, lower skilled, high skilled. A community benefits, I think, through affordable housing to have just a range of population.
That's certainly true. And actually, we have one other program that we have something called our shared housing program, because since there's so little affordable housing, I mean, there's not so little, there's a lot, but there's never enough in Westchester. We also run a program where we try to introduce people who are looking for a room for rent to maybe a homeowner who needs more income to support stay living in their home. Because often in Westchester, if you have an empty bedroom in your house, and it's legal in most communities in Westchester, it's legal for you to rent out a room or take in, one person in your home. And you can sometimes if you have a house, if you have a bedroom in your house with a private bath, you can get $700 a month easily to rent out that room. And we have a lot of seniors and other people who are looking for that type of housing, because a one-bedroom apartment is easily $1,200 in most of Westchester, and then they have to pay utilities on top of that.
Right.
So they can just rent out so if you're having a hard time making ends meet and you want to rent out a room, you can contact us. We can try and find someone to. There's more demand for those rooms than we have supply of the rooms to rent out. So all we do is introduce the people to each other. We do not check references. There's a non-liability agreement that we require the people to sign, because it's totally just an introduction service. But it's been very successful. We often have people living together for years. And especially for seniors, that helps. They can sometimes help with chores for reduced rent. Like the senior may not drive anymore, and they may want to be taken grocery shopping once a week.
Okay.
Or maybe they need their walk shoveled. And there's all sorts of great partnerships that work out through this program.
So that's the independent living segment.
We call that Project Share.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We also help. Speaking of independent living, people often don't. Sometimes people will come to us and say, "I want to move into assisted living," because they're getting elderly. They're not able to live on their own anymore. And but what they don't realize is that this new assisted living movement is very expensive. In the old days, it used to be that you live in your own home. When you got a little older, you'd move in with family, and when you became very infirm, maybe you'd go to a nursing home. But in the past 20, 30 years, there's become this new assisted living layer of housing. And those are almost all private, expensive housing. I mean, in Westchester, assisted living can cost $5,000–6,000 a month for an apartment. However, there are a couple of places in Westchester that offer subsidized assisted living, and some of those, one of them even accepts Medicaid. So people on Medicaid, this new place in Yonkers, they actually can move into assisted living, and their Medicaid can pay for it. So any type of information like that people need, they can call us about it.
And one more thing from your website, I see here that you'll come out and train co-op boards.
Yes, we do. From the Fair Housing Department, they'll come out and talk to co-op boards about, fair housing, best practices, and the laws about co-op.
That's very
boards.
helpful.
That's
a free service. Is that something you
Yes,
would do?
that's a free service. The other thing that we help people with is, as you may have heard, the housing vouchers, the Section 8 vouchers. What Section 8 is, it's a program that the government has that it pays about 70% of your rent, and you pay about 30% of your rent. And Section 8 vouchers, the waiting list is very long. I mean, in some places, some Section 8 offices are not even taking applications right now. But even if you get on the waiting list, the list to get a Section 8 voucher can be 7 to 10 years. So what we try to encourage people to do is to, instead of saying, "Oh, I can't get a Section 8 voucher, it's hopeless for me to ever find affordable housing," is to get on the waiting list for some of these HUD buildings, where basically it's the same thing, that you get 70% is paid for by the government, and you only pay 30%. Obviously, you have to be pretty low income for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jane, I want to thank you so much for coming in today. Westchester Residential Opportunities, Jane Lindau, the Director of Senior Housing. And one more time, if you want to just give your phone number.
Yes, 914-428-4507, extension 313.
Okay. And get in touch with Jane, and she'll help you with your issues. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming on the show.